Even before the MCU, Marvel had a strong presence in the movie theaters. For a little history lesson to demonstrate how much Marvel has changed in the last 25 years, we have to talk about Marvel's brush with bankruptcy. In 1996, Marvel filed for bankruptcy, and there's a lot of reasons why, but the concise explanation is that a guy named Ronald Perelman bought the company and ran it into the ground. The company was saved when Toy Biz, a lauded toy company specializing in action figures, bought it. It's kind of funny that the company making toys of Marvel characters had to buy the company creating the characters to save it, and this acquisition majorly affected Marvel's direction in the 2000s. Names like Avi Arad and Ike Perlmutter became ubiquitous with Marvel, and to be fair to them, they did right the ship of Marvel Comics, and I mostly grew up with their vision of Marvel, though Ike Perlmutter is a dick, to be clear. Anyway, when Toy Biz bought Marvel, they absorbed the company and renamed it to Marvel Enterprises, and sold the rights to a bunch of characters to a bunch of different movie studios. Obviously, in retrospect, this was kind of a miss because there was like a decade-long struggle to get the X-Men and Fantastic Four into the MCU, but I understand why they would want to sell these licenses to make some extra money at that time. I really can't blame them. Of course, since Marvel was bought by Toy Biz, all of the movies I'm going to talk about today had toy lines, some good and some bizarre. What's good, internet? Jake here, dumb as ever, and apologies for the upfront history lesson, but man, it's interesting to think about how everything in regards to Marvel fell into place. In this video, I'm going to talk about toy lines based on Marvel movies that came out before the MCU was established. I grew up with these movies and toys, so I've had this idea rolling around in my head for a while. I do want to say that we are not covering the Raimi Spider-Man movies in this video. That's a whole other can of worms, and a video I plan to do in the future. So please, if you like this video and want me to make that Raimi Spider-Man toy video, please like and subscribe to appease the god of YouTube, Algae Rhythm. Blade is a 1998 movie based on the half-vampire Vampire Hunter that was directed by Stephen Norrington, starring Wesley Snipes as the titular Blade. I have to admit, I hadn't seen this movie until last month when I watched it on Discord with my YouTube members and patrons, but in my defense, it did come out only 2 years after I was born, and I gotta say, it is not a kid's movie. There are some crazy scenes in this film, and they're awesome, but I wouldn't show it to a child. The movie surprised me a lot because of how fun it is. I was expecting a more serious movie, but Blade is hilarious and the vampire actors are all amping it up to 11. In the movie, Blade works with his mentor Whistler to stop Deacon Frost, a vampire that's trying to take over the world by summoning a blood god. I absolutely love the intro scene that takes place at a vampire club where they use blood sprinklers and are raving. I don't know, I just kind of dig vampires who love to party. Of course, Blade shows up and it's amazing. Such a cool character intro, and the scene tells you most of what you need to know about Blade. He's badass, funny, and loves to kill vampires. Oh, and fun fact, an alternate ending of the movie featured Morbius. This scene shows Blade and Karen talking about what they will do next, and Karen notices a mysterious figure watching them from a nearby rooftop. Apparently, that was Morbius, and he was going to be the villain of Blade 2. But when Guillermo del Toro took over as director, that idea changed. A damn shame. Blade 2 could have made $1 more billion with that one. I definitely need to go back and watch Blade 2 and 3 now, but like I said, Blade is not a kid's movie, so it didn't really have a big toy line to support it. But the movie did have 4 action figures released, under the Marvel Collector's Edition line, indicating the toys were more aimed towards adult collectors than kids. The line featured 2 Blade figures, one sporting his iconic look with the trench coat and shades that comes with a ton of his weapons from the movie, and the second version of Blade is called Vampire Blade. He looks a bit more feral here and doesn't have his trench coat. They gave him some red highlights on his bulletproof vest, which is different than the movie, but I kinda like it. There was also a Whistler figure, and he just looks a bit off to me. His head looks too small, and the skin color of his arms and body don't seem to match. And finally, there was a Deacon Frost action figure, which came with an alternate blood god mask and arm, which are remnants from an earlier version of the film, where Deacon becomes this giant blood tornado when he bonds sequence with La Magra, but the effects look so terrible, they actually filmed the other ending that we got in the movie, which I did think was a bit anticlimactic. They hype up La Magra the whole movie, but when they summon him, Deacon really isn't that much stronger. I was expecting a transformation like the original ending, but I think they made the right choice by changing the final fight. The Frost figure is just okay. The La Magra mask looks like it's from Spirit Halloween though. This is a fine little toy line for the movie, though I think only the normal Blade action figure would be an actually good addition to your collection. Blade is in a weird spot in the MCU. They announced a movie in 2019 starring Mahershala Ali, but have hired and fired like 5 different directors. Somehow Wesley Snipes' Blade made it into the MCU first, though I guess you can hear Mahershala's Blade speak in the Eternals post-credit scene, which absolutely does not count in my mind. Werewolf by Night was so good that it's clear a horror-themed MCU movie like Blade would be sick. Just make the damn thing, Marvel. Man, I loved the first X-Men movie. It was probably my introduction to the concept of X-Men, and I loved the cool leather suits and, of course, Wolverine, played by Hugh Jackman before he was ultra ripped. Strangely, besides the movies, I never really got too much into X-Men. I read the first volume of Ultimate X-Men like 50 times because it's all I had, and I watched the X-Men Evolution cartoon, but I never got that deep into the comic lore, which seems extremely confusing to me. The movie that came out in 2000 was so good though. It was before CGI was used for absolutely everything, so there's a lot of practical effects used with the CGI, which just makes it a little bit more enjoyable to watch for me, because I love that stuff. In the first movie, Magneto kidnaps Rogue to use her as a power source for a machine that can turn humans into mutants, but the resulting mutations would likely kill most humans rather than give them powers, so the X-Men have to save Rogue and stop the Brotherhood of Mutants. The final battle takes place on the Statue of Liberty, and I'm sorry No Way Home, but X-Men did it better. This movie was a massive success, making 3 times the $75 million budget at the box office, and really kicked off the era of superhero movies we still live in today. This movie was so much more accessible to kids and had a big cast of heroes and villains, so there was a big toy line push by Toy Biz, with a ton of figures released. And I have to say, this is genuinely one of the most bizarre toy lines I've ever seen. And I don't think Toy Biz was attempting to make weird toys, but they did. They really did. There were 2 series of figures in the X-Men toy line. The first series featured pretty much every character in the movie. Let's start with the face of the franchise, Wolverine. Something is deeply wrong with the face of this franchise. I don't know why, but literally every Wolverine figure in this line has a weird expression. The face sculpts are just off. I genuinely cannot tell what this expression is meant to be. Is he angry? Is he happy? This Logan figure is posed so strangely. His legs are super splayed out, and his popping claws action feature makes it so his arms are impossible to pose. These toys came out shortly before the era of highly posable figures being the standard, so the lack of articulation isn't shocking. It's just the weird posing choices that get me. The Wolverine in his X-Men costume looks a bit better, but his face is still weird. Also, his claws are a soft rubber, so they end up very bendy looking. This isn't a problem unique to the X-Men movie toy though. It's kinda hard to do an action figure of Wolverine with his claws, because they can't be too sharp or hard, since kids might poke out their eyes or whatever. I like that they gave him orange and blue highlights on his costume. The actual movie just uses orange, but this would have looked way better to me. Cyclops fared better than most. His eyes light up, which is kind of the perfect Cyclops gimmick to me. He also comes with this wild accessory of Jean Grey trapped in Toad's goo, which is a crazy sentence saying it out loud. That sounded so weird. You can press a button on her back to release her from the goo. The figure of Jean has way more booba showing than the movie, and the box shows her with way more booba, which is actually a weird problem of this line. There were multiple releases of both Jean Grey and Storm, because the Toy Biz guys were weirdly horny when they made this toy line. They released 2 versions of Jean Grey. The first had no bra, so she had crazy booba showing, and the second gave her a bra to add a bit of modesty to the figure. Storm ended up with 3 different versions, the same as Jean Grey with the braless and bra version, but they also released a 3rd version that actually had her costume properly zipped up. I don't know what possessed Toy Biz to sculpt them with so much booba showing. In the movie, they never have their costumes unzipped like that, so it kind of feels like a creepy choice, especially considering these toys are based on real people. Jean Grey's figure also came with probably the most bizarre accessory in the line, a Senator Kelly figure. In the movie, Senator Kelly is an anti-mutant senator that is kidnapped by Magneto and forcibly mutated. The mutation doesn't take, and Senator Kelly turns into this gross water monster that horrifically dies. And Toy Biz decided to make a toy version of that for some reason. This gross slug dude is made of rubber and filled with metal balls. His face is crazy. He looks like Donald Trump with kawaii anime eyes. I really cannot wrap my head around this figure existing. I swear the Toy Biz guys were smoking crack when they developed this line. We also have the Mystique figure, which looks fine, a decent sculpt of the character. She does come with the skin of Wolverine though. Yeah, she comes with a rubber Wolverine suit to put on, which is honestly a cool concept, though a bit bizarre in practice. Mystique is posed in a very feminine way, so when the Wolverine skin is on, he looks a bit zesty. I kinda love that for him. Also, Wolverine's face sculpt is terrible even on this figure. There have been a lot of figures in this line, but the last one I wanted to highlight is Professor X, who is honestly one of the strongest figures in the line in terms of sculpting and look, but for some reason they made it so you literally cannot stand the figure up. The toy was purposely designed with loose legs so he can't stand up, which I really don't understand. Like, yes, he's paralyzed in the movie, but that doesn't mean you have to make the toy version paralyzed. It almost feels like he wasn't originally supposed to be removable from the wheelchair, so they didn't bother giving him tight leg joints. There are actually some playsets for this line. They did a Statue of Liberty head like the end of the movie. The sculpt is close enough to the actual statue, I guess. I find it funny how they put a giant Statue of Liberty sign at the front of the playset. Like, yeah, man, I know. There was also a playset of Magneto's mutant machine, which was located in Lady Liberty's torch in the movie, so you could have a solid Lady Liberty setup for your collection. This toy line was hella weird, but starting with X2, they really improved the toys. I'm not gonna talk about all the X-Men movie toy lines here, but if you want another video covering the rest, let me know. Marvel has been slowly teasing out the X-Men in the MCU for a while, and it seems like they're making their big debut in Doomsday. Once the universe is reset or whatever after Secret Wars, I hope we get a unique take on the X-Men and not just the same actors as 20 years ago. Hulk was one of the first superheroes I really loved. He's a simple character to understand. He's a big dude that's a primary color, and when he get mad, he gets strong. What's not to love? I swear in the early 2000s, the three biggest Marvel heroes were Wolverine, Spider-Man, and Hulk. And nowadays, Hulk has been heavily relegated to the sidelines, which kinda sucks because I think a full-on Planet Hulk movie or something would be sick. The 2003 Hulk movie, directed by Ang Lee, is a pretty bizarre movie when you compare it to the rest of the films in this lineup. While X-Men and Fantastic Four were action-adventure films, Hulk is almost like an action drama. The movie deals with some pretty heavy stuff like child abuse and repressed trauma. In the movie, Bruce Banner's dad loses his mind and experiments on Bruce as a kid. His dad has a major crash out, activates a gamma bomb, and kills his wife, and is about to kill his own son before he's caught. As an adult, Bruce comes into contact with a heavy dose of gamma radiation, and whatever his dad did to him activates, creating the Hulk. The movie is ultimately about how Bruce must overcome his father's abuse, culminating in a fight between the two, which feels really mature and interesting for a movie about the Hulk. Hulk is a really strange movie that I low-key like. It has some insane editing choices to simulate comic book panels, and the CGI sometimes looks amazing, and other times looks like it's from 2003, which it is. There was, of course, a toy line for the movie by Toy Biz. This line featured so many variations of the Hulk. There were 13 figures released over 4 waves, and 10 of those figures were the Hulk. Any toy line about a specific superhero is going to have multiple versions, of course, but damn, 10 Hulks? There's not a ton of difference between them besides features and accessories either. So maybe the Hulks were just flying off the shelf, and Toy Biz needed to keep the supply to match the demand. Out of the 3 non-Hulk toys, there is Bruce Banner, who comes with this pod that shows Hulk inside. head. It's called a transformation chamber. I get the idea of the toy, but I don't think this actually happens in the movie. I could be wrong. And the Bruce Banner toy does not really look like Eric Bana. Then there's the Hulk dog, which is probably the best scene in the movie, where Hulk is attacked by 3 giant gamma irradiated dogs. The scene is cool, but also surprisingly violent. I don't know, even if they're CGI monster dogs, I didn't really like seeing them get killed, but it was funny when one of the dogs bit Hulk in the balls. Only one of the Hulk dogs got a toy, and he's really cool. The sculpting is amazing, and if you squeeze his legs, the dog's jaw opens and closes. Finally, there's a toy of Hulk's dad, David Banner. David is basically the Marvel character Absorbing Man in the movie, though he's never called that in the film or marketing material. This toy, while looking awesome, is also based on nothing. David takes many forms in the movie, but never anything like this. I guess it's nice they made him at all, and if he did look like this in the movie, it would have been a cool Absorbing Man design. There were also these giant 13-inch Hulks that I remember really wanting as a kid. I don't usually care for large figures like that, but Hulk is an exception. And of course, we've got to shout out the Hulk hands. Sadly, I never had any or knew anyone that had any, so please comment down below. Did it hurt to get punched by them? I've always wondered. I know Red Hulk just appeared in Captain America 4, but to be honest, that's the first MCU movie I've missed in a while. Not for any big reason, I just wasn't super interested based on the trailers, and I had a new dog at the time, so it was harder to leave the house for 2 hours. I just wish we could get another proper Hulk movie, and not these half Hulk projects like Thor Ragnarok and Captain America. Every 10 years, Hollywood takes a stab at the Fantastic Four. Last decade's attempt went pretty poorly, but man, the new MCU version looks amazing to me. They're doing a lore-accurate Galactus, my boy Pedro Pascal is freaking Mr. Fantastic, and oh my god, they cooked with the thing. He looks perfect. As good as the new movie looks, I honestly think the original 2005 movie is absolutely fantastic. Wait a minute. Like most of these movies, the first Fantastic Four movie is an origin story, and was my introduction to Marvel's first family. I think it does a great job of adapting the comics, especially with The Thing. The tragedy of that character is super well told in the movie, and I absolutely love the practical makeup they used for him, even if it makes him not perfectly comic accurate. It's also so weird to see Chris Evans play another Marvel character. He's a little bit too much of a douchebag in my opinion, but I get why they wrote him that way. I really love Mr. Fantastic in the movie. He looks just like the comic book character to me, and the stretching powers actually look really good. Invisible Woman looks the part, but they barely gave her anything to do in the movie. And I don't like the gag of her having to get undressed in public while invisible. It just feels a little gross. Sue Storm is a goat, so I just expect a little more respect for her, which I'm sure the new movie is going to strive to do. The toy line for this movie is absolutely incredible. Modern articulation was finally the standard, and almost every figure was super articulated, including the Invisible Woman. They gave her a double bend at her elbow, which has only recently become a thing in Hasbro's female Marvel figures. The Human Torch is clear orange plastic and looks great. Mr. Fantastic comes with the bendy attachments, and you can make him crazy looking. This toy is actually kind of a brilliant concept for the character, but because the limbs are bendable, they're made out of a soft plastic, meaning the connections between the stretchy limbs and the normal limbs is really bad, so he doesn't really stay together that well. Also, when he's fully stretched out, he looks like an analog horror version of Woody, and of course, the ever-loving Thing looks great, with all the sculpted detail you would expect from Toy Biz, as well as a few Doctor Doom figures, one of which has a rotating face gimmick. Some other notable figures in the line is the Raging Thing, that comes with a whole separate bendy Mr. Fantastic figure to wrap around him like when they fight in the movie. There's also a snowboarding Human Torch figure, which is an interesting choice. I guess it's nice to have one not on fire Johnny figure. And there's also a really cool astronaut version of Ben Grimm that has a face switching gimmick. Fantastic Four aside, this is just a cool astronaut toy. Finally, my favorite weird figure in this line is the Spring Attack Mr. Fantastic, who has a slinky for an abdomen, which is a fun idea for a toy. They were really creative with this character, and the best part is he doesn't even look weird when he's not slinkying. They kind of cooked with this figure. Much like Hulk hands, they made Thing hands, which is awesome because you can do a Hulk versus the Thing fight, but they also made Thing feet? Whose freaky ass at Toy Biz made this decision? man. They're really out here sculpting thing toes. And there was also a Mr. Fantastic arm claw grabber thing, which is, again, a great idea. I gotta say, this is the best toy line so far. There are some fun ideas, and they never fall into the cursed category. And all the figures are very posable. Like I said earlier, I can't wait for the new Fantastic Four movie, and I would really like to see the 2005 version of the team in Doomsday or Secret War. Ghost Rider is just one of those superheroes that is designed to be badass. An agent of the devil that has a flaming skull for a head and rides a badass motorcycle. Yeah man, I'm there. And I was there in 2007 for Ghost Rider, a movie about Johnny Blaze, who signs his soul to the devil to stop his father's cancer, only for the devil to double-cross Johnny, getting his dad killed in a daredevil stunt gone wrong. As an adult, the devil calls on Johnny to become the Ghost Rider and stop his son Blackheart from doing something evil. Man, I can't remember, and who cares? He's a douche in a trench coat. Way lamer than the actual Blackheart from the comics. This movie has not aged the best, or more accurately, it was bad when it came out, and I liked it because I was a kid, which I don't blame my younger self. If you saw a cowboy riding a horse that was on fire at age 12, your neurons would also activate. The Nick Cage of it all is also fun, though to be honest, his performance is a little bland in this movie. Unless it's a Ghost Rider transformation sequence, then he goes absolutely crazy. The toy line for Ghost Rider was actually done by Hasbro, because in January of 2007, Marvel Entertainment entered an agreement with Hasbro, giving them the Marvel Comics toy license instead of Toy Biz, which is kind of weird to me since Toy Biz was a part of Marvel Entertainment, but whatever. The difference between the quality of Toy Biz and Hasbro is immediately apparent. Where the Fantastic Four toys had very accurate sculpts and a bunch of accessories, the Ghost Rider toys feel very inaccurate and only have one or two really lame accessories. This Ghost Rider, for example, just seems off in terms of proportions, and Ghost Rider seems a little bit hunched over. The motorcycle looks cool though, and overall it doesn't look terrible, just worse than Toy Biz. There were 2 waves of basic figures, with 4 Ghost Riders released over the 2 waves. They all look fine, though a Ghost Rider without his bike feels incomplete to me. My favorite Ghost Rider is from Wave 2. He has a Nick Cage head and it just looks terrible. The head looks weirdly small and the likeness is just not there. The first wave also featured the GOAT Caretaker. I always loved his design in the movie. I wish there was a set with Caretaker and his horse. In Wave 2 they released Blackheart, and just like the movie, he looks like a normal dude. Instead of making toys of Blackheart's lackeys, Hasbro opted to make some of the characters that appeared in the Ghost Rider tie-in video game. This will be a common strategy for Hasbro when it comes to these movie toy lines. Since usually there's only 1 or 2 villains in the actual movies, they'll often pull characters from the video games to put into the toy line, or just insert a comic book character into the line to pad it out. In Wave 1 we have Vengeance, who is like Ghost Rider's Venom, just a bigger, more powerful version of Ghost Rider. And in Wave 2 we got Scarecrow. Apparently Marvel also has a Scarecrow villain. This version is cool. He looks like a Spawn villain more than anything to me, and I like that you can remove his hat. And yeah, that's pretty much it for Ghost Rider. A bad movie I liked as a kid with a very mid toy line. Though I will say this is very early in Hasbro's Marvel days, and obviously nowadays they would make stuff that blows these toys out of the water. Man, what a fun time looking back on all of the movies I grew up with. I don't think they're better than what we get now, but I do feel like these movies had interesting ideas and weren't just regurgitating comic book plot lines. Especially a movie like Hulk, which went way past surface level for the character in a way we haven't seen since. But hey, thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. If you'd like to support me further, I have YouTube memberships and a Patreon. For $1 a month, both give you access to my private Discord server where we do monthly movie and toku nights. This month we're watching Godzilla Minus One on May 10th, 2025 at 6 p.m. EST. I can't wait to rewatch it. Minus One really got me into Godzilla, and I think it'll be a super fun watch with a group. Alright y'all, I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.